Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. Today is a Microsoft 365 series webinar all about maximizing your Outlook capabilities. So as we use Outlook every day, what are some tips and tricks to just make it more effective and really run smoothly? So let's go ahead and go over our main goal for today. It's really about increasing productivity and taking advantage of all the features that Outlook offers. And we do love participation throughout our webinar today. So as you can see on your toolbar, you can go ahead and unmute or turn on your video at any time during the webinar. We love to hear you and your questions or comments. We also have the chat box. We will be monitoring the chat box throughout our webinar today if you have any questions or just anything to add, as well as some reactions. So in Zoom, there is a reaction button. You'll see some default stock ones right here. If you click on the three dots, you can also change your skin tone, and that's a way that you can really participate just through emojis as well. So thank you again for joining us. I see Sarita and Terry Mers. Perfect. So our agenda for our workshop today, number one, we'll go over the different Outlook versions that are available to us here at UDC. That includes the desktop, browser, and mobile versions. We'll also talk about taking control of your inbox, things about organization and setting rules and conditional formatting. We'll also talk about using folders to stay organized and also subfolders within that. And then we'll end with some tips for some add-ins. You may not know you can add WebEx or Zoom links directly when you're setting up a meeting using the calendar function. I'll also go over some tips and tricks for using the calendar really effectively here. Last but not least, we'll have some time for next steps and Q&A at the very end. So with that, I'll go ahead and hand it off to my colleague, Julian King.
All right. Hey, Dave, you're going to man the slide or do I need to share my screen?
I will man it. No problem.
All right. You're the best. Thank you. So good afternoon. My name is Julian King. I am our learning design coordinator here at the C.A.L team. And I'll specifically be focusing on comparing Outlook versions, whether it's the desktop, the web browser, or the mobile version. So first things first, how can I access my Outlook? There are three ways we can go ahead and log ourselves into our Outlook accounts. First is by web browser. As shown in our screenshot, you'll pick your web browser, whether it's Google Chrome, Safari, Microsoft Edge. Then you'll go ahead and type in outlook.live.com. And you're able to sign in there. We can go to our next version, which will be your desktop, which is how most people I've interacted with normally access their Outlook, where you'll click your Microsoft Office icon that's either located in your My UDC quick launch, or most computers also have the software as well. And then from clicking on your Microsoft Office icon, you'll click on Outlook from there. And lastly, we talk about our mobile piece. This is the way I use it the most and maximize it. Download the app to your phone, whether it's your App Store or Play Store, based on your Android or iPhone capabilities. You download the app. I typically keep it on my front screen just because we send the most emails, so I typically use it from there the most. So then we talk about, well, what will my emails look like? So when you're using three different versions, or I guess three ways to access your Outlook, your emails aren't always going to look the same on each version. On our web browser, it appears in a 3-column structure, which I personally find the best. This is the method I use the most via web browser. And in that 3-column structure, the left column will be your folders, your inbox, your sent, any folders you create. I know we'll talk about that later into the presentation. The middle would be the actual folder you selected. So your inbox, your focused inbox, your other inbox, your focused sent, all those messages, anything you pin sits at the top. And then that column all the way to the right, that is your inline reader. So when you click on one of your emails, that's where it will appear for you to be able to read it and reply, forward, or do any maneuvering from there. And that is the web browser Outlook. Then we kind of shift over to our desktop look. So in our desktop look, this is the more traditional look that a lot of faculty are using. Not my personal favorite, strictly because of the 2-column structure. It still follows that the left column is your folders and the right column is your inbox emails that are appearing. But I personally just do not care for it. It does not come with that inline reader. Most times when I click on an email, it does open up a separate window. And that kind of becomes difficult for me to kind of keep track of certain things or certain replies that I may want to send. So this just not my preference, but I do know a lot of faculty that use this version as well. And we shift lastly to our mobile Outlook. On our mobile Outlook, you see it's only one column, strictly your inbox or whichever folder you have selected. The ability to swap folders or swap what's on your screen. You'll tap on your image at the top left, and it'll give you an option to pick which folder you want to move to, so on and so forth. It does provide you the same functions, but as you see, it is kind of limited. You can pin things, but they don't appear directly at the top. So it's very good use, like I said, for it to be mobile, but it does definitely miss some of the features from the desktop and web browser version. So finally, we kind of transition into what our calendars look like, because most of us use our calendars throughout our daily activities. And for the web browser, my personal favorite, you notice that the calendar and the way it presents time is of a vertical structure, meaning that on the left side, you see 8, 9, 10 a.m. kind of going down vertically, and it aligns everybody's activities and everybody's calendar meetings that way. So you can just run your finger across a certain time and see what's everybody doing, what are their meetings, where are their schedules. To me, this is the easiest use for it, especially for myself. But to each his own. Everybody has their own style of interpreting data, interpreting these kind of metrics. So you also have a variety of options when you go to your desktop. So moving here, the biggest difference between the web browser and your desktop is the structure of time. Your structure on your web browser is a vertical time slot. When you're talking about on your desktop, it is horizontal, meaning that it's at the top of the screen and it goes from right to left or left to right. And with that, the same approach can happen. You can drag your finger down your line and see where everybody is, which meetings or things that they're currently in. Personally, this is not my favorite view, just because of looking up to down as far as the scheduling. But like I said, to each his own. This may be your preferred version of checking out your calendar. And if that is, do what works best for you and maximize that. And lastly, we'll get into the mobile version. To me, the mobile calendar is actually very seamless. It does follow the web browser version, which is that vertical structure up top to bottom. And same theory applies. You trace your finger across to kind of see what your schedules look like. Obviously, the color coding makes it good when you work on a team with multiple people to kind of see where everybody is and to everybody to have their own distinct color. But this version is probably the one I use the most throughout my day. To me, it's just the easiest to read out of all of them. This is my web browser version. But hopefully these three versions of Outlook, you've kind of seen the one you use the most. Are you able to make me? Yes. So you are able to make meetings easily from mobile. I'm sorry, I just saw your question, Dr. Brown. So on that screenshot, you see that plus sign to the bottom right. You would click that plus sign and you can easily start create a meeting there on mobile. Yeah, and the mobile is very seamless. Like you said, all the functions you have, and I personally think the mobile is easiest. And for me, especially because I'm on the go a lot, but like I said, to each his own. But the mobile and desktop to me, mobile and web browser, to me are my favorite versions of Outlook and how I probably use it the most. And with that, I'll transition to my colleague.
And Julian, thank you for that. I did see another question. Does the Outlook mobile version go into dark mode automatically, like your screenshot?
So I think it does go into it automatically, just based on your settings. I do think you can set the theme as far as your Outlook mobile, but I think it is automatic when you first download the app, and you can switch the settings as needed.
Excellent.
Yes,
and then
you can actually adjust those. You can actually adjust those settings. If you go into settings on your mobile phone, it actually allows you to turn off dark mode on and off, no matter which app that you're using. So you can decide whether or not you want that feature to be on or off, but you have to actually go in there and tell the phone what you want it to do. So if your phone is if it's turned on, then yes, it will switch automatically. But if it's turned off, then it will just stay in whatever mode that you have it set to.
Excellent. Thank you, Pat. And I will go on towards the end of our webinar today. I'll also go over from the desktop or browser versions how you change the theme and the settings for that as well, the colors. Thank you so much, Julian.
Thank you.
And let's pass it on to Dominique. Thank you so much, Dominique.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me good?
Yes,
Yep.
we can hear you.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Awesome. So I'm going to be talking about taking control of your inbox and some of the customizations and features that you can set up to make your inbox a little bit less crowded and have all of your information and emails come in seamlessly. So you can go to the next slide, David. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is conditional formatting. A lot of times when you're using your inbox and you get a plethora of emails, they're all coming in at once and you can't really differentiate what's important or what you want to focus on first. So conditional formatting allows you to color coordinate from your specific colleagues or the pros, for instance, you have it up there and you can see it and it's clear for you. So slide, David. So one of the ways that you do that is you go into your Outlook ribbon and from there, you can go in and select the rules. You can create a new rule and then you can add the title of the rule. So in this case, I named it for the person that I want to receive the emails from. And then I went in and double clicked on the font and selected the color, what font I wanted to use, what font style and the sizing of it. So as you can see, I selected olive, bold, and a big font so that once it comes into my inbox, I can see it. Once you're done with that configuration, you can click OK. And if you go to the next slide, David, we can see what that looks like. So from there, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that I have an email from Dr. Moore that is color coded in olive green. So that I see his emails pop up whenever he sends me any kind of email that will pop up in that color. And that way it just gives me a better visual aspect of what's important. I've color coordinated all of my emails from all of the C.A.L staff so that they all have their own different colors and they all come into my inbox and I can see all of these things very easily. The second, so you can go to the next slide. The second tip that I have is the to or CC rule. So a lot of times we are getting emails from all kinds of vendors and blogs and or emails that we subscribe to for informational purposes, but that can really overpower and overrun your inbox. So one of the rules that you can set up is to move all of the unnecessary information or things that you'd like to look at a later time into a different folder and maintain or keep all of the things where you are directly emailed on the to line or the CC line. And the way that you do that is you go into your ribbons toolbar, you select rules and create a rule, and then you would select next so that you bypass all of this. It's going to give you a prompt that says this is going to apply it to all of your email. You say yes. If you click the next slide, David, then that goes through the process. You would scroll down, you would select move to a specific folder. I've selected my professional development folder because a lot of the emails that I have will kind of be informational purposes such as webinars or things like that. And then you specify that you want it to include every email except the emails that your name is in the to or the CC box. Once you do that, you just name the rule. So I have it as keep messages inbox in my inbox if I'm on the to or CC, and then you can run that rule immediately or you can turn it on and then select finish. So next slide, David. The next one that I have is the compression of your emails, which is convenient, especially if you have a lot of email threads back and forth with colleagues. You can select the option to show that email thread as a conversation. So what that will do is then compact all of the emails so that they are all within one thread. It has the main thread on top, and then the subsequent emails are all underneath there, which is really helpful to keep your email or your inbox from looking overrun and so many emails. Second, the one thing that Julian mentioned in his part of the presentation was that you can basically turn any email into a meeting. So by doing that, like say you select your email that you received and you want to turn it into a meeting, or you want to set up a meeting, there's a button on the top ribbon that says meeting. If you select that button, then it will give you the option to turn that email, and everyone who is on the recipient list of that email will receive the email or the meeting request, which is really cool because one of the things that I think Dr. Moore taught us when he was talking about Apple was the ability to be able to just create as you're going and not really be stuck to any one place or thing. And I thought that that was a really cool tip. So I wanted to share that as well. Next slide. And finally, there are some really cool elements called tasks and flagging that I personally use on a regular basis to make sure that I keep up with all of the important things that I actually have to do when I receive an email. So you can flag your email or flag any email in your inbox, and that will then move it to the to-do list. The to-do icon is circled on the screen there next to the people. And you can select that. When you select that item, you'll see this screen here where it kind of puts it in a task list. And you can then go in and right click on that task and then select it as complete when you're finished with it. And in fact, that was one of the things that I did as David tasked all of us to create our slides for this particular presentation. Lastly, sometimes you get emails that are no longer relevant and you don't feel that you need to pay attention to what's being said, or it's not relevant to you, but you're still on the thread. You can then go up to your ribbon and select ignore, and that will delete the email thread from your inbox so that you no longer see it. And if there are any subsequent emails, they'll go right to the deleted items and bypass your inbox. So those are some cool tips that will keep your inbox clear and clean. I also like to kind of go through and delete anything that is older than 2 to 3 weeks in my inbox, just so that I keep it under 20 to 25 emails per my inbox. So with that, I'll turn it over to Pat.
Excellent. Thank you, Dominique. And Dominique is a pro at really mastering her inbox. For me, I have thousands of emails, so this is something that I'll be also following and organizing. And yes, my colleague Pat, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, David. Thank you, Dominique and Julian. So I'm going to discuss folders and how I love to use folders to stay organized. So David, if you can move to the next slide. So I'm going to discuss how to create a folder, creating subfolders. I think Julian touched on that a little bit. Renaming the folders, deleting folders, adding and removing folders to your favorites, and also how you can access your folders from the web or the mobile application. So let me just share my screen here. Okay, move this over. So again, I love the folder portion of Outlook because I receive a ton of emails like most of you, and creating folders is a good way to store emails that could be a part of a project, or maybe emails that you may not even want to delete right away. You can create folders to store those emails. So the way you create folders, you would go to your inbox here, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to hit new folder. And by default, it says Untitled, but I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it 20, let's see, let's call this 2021 22. I'm gonna hit enter. Go back to my inbox. And here is my folder. So hypothetically, these are hundreds of emails from students, and I want to, I don't want to delete them, but I want to move them out of my inbox to a folder. So one way I can do that is I can drag it to here, or I can right click. I can right click on the folder and select move. And as you can see right here, if I can select the various folders that I have. So this is the folder that I created. And I can just select that folder and it moves it right to that folder. Okay. And let me just select all of them. How about if I just select one more? That one. Now, what if I want to take this a step further and I have emails from students, but I want to separate the fall students from summer and spring. Well, I can go back into that same folder and create a subfolder. And the way I would do that is I would highlight that folder, right click again, hit new folder. Now you can see there's the drop down arrow and another folder appears. So I can go in and I can say fall. I create another one. I'll say spring. Create another one. And I'll just say summer. Okay, now I can go back to my emails and I can put this, I can also drag this student here, drag this student there. So now my inbox is nice and clean. And if I want to go to my fall students, my spring, there's no one in the spring, okay. Put this in the fall. Move this student here, move this student there. Okay, so I have my fall, spring, and summer folders here. All right, I can also rename the folders, but just by going to the folder that I like to rename and just right click on that folder, you can see all my different options. I can just hit rename folder and I can call this say school year, right? And I can do that with all of my folders. I can rename any one of my folders here. Now, if you're like me, you know, you get a lot of emails, you're on a lot of projects, eventually you will build up a lot of folders. As you can see, I have a lot of folders here. And you may not want to particularly focus on all of the folders. You may have a few folders that you may want to just focus on. And they can serve as your primary folders. But one thing you can do is you can add these folders to your favorites up here. And the way you would do that is you would select the folder that you want. Let's say I want the summer. I want to focus on summer since we are in the summer. And as you can see, when I selected this folder, there's a little star here. If I click on that star, that adds that folder to my favorites. So now I don't have to focus on, I can actually collapse my main folder here, and I can just focus on emails within my favorites folder here. And I can do that with any one of my folders that you see here. And if I want to remove it from my favorites, all I'll do is go back to this icon here and select it. And now that moves it back to my main folder, which is the 2021-2022 school year folder. Any questions about that so far? Okay. Okay, all right. So let me stop sharing. And David, you can go back to the first slide. So Julian talked about this a little bit, but I just want to recap and touch on the web piece. You can access your folders from the web. And the way you would do that is you would go to the web portion, click on Outlook, as Julian showed us earlier. And when you do that, if you select the down arrow on your inbox, it will show you all the folders that you have within Outlook, right? So everything is replicated on the web. Similarly, if you go to the next slide, David, You can access your folders from the mobile app, as Julian pointed out earlier. If you go tap on the mobile application and then tap on your profile picture, once you do that, you will see all your folders listed there as well. And always, for me, I always use the desktop version of Outlook to set all this up because, as Julian pointed out earlier, the look is a little bit different. And sometimes even the wording is different. Like, for instance, on the web portion of folders, it actually says subfolder instead of just folder, whereas though what I pointed out earlier, it just said folder. So the wording is different. The way it looks is a little bit different. My recommendation is to set everything up on the desktop version and then use the mobile and the web version for access.
And Pat, just since we're talking about mobile, if you get an email and you want to add it to a folder from your mobile device, is it a similar process?
Yes, it is similar.
Okay.
It is similar. You do have those options as well. Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, so Pat is very organized with his folders. It's, you know, one of my projects that I'm going to work on because I don't really use folders. So it's something that would really help me with my organization as well. Right?
Absolutely, David.
Yep. Thank you, Pat.
Yes.
Yeah. So to end our webinar today, I'll talk about some tips for using add-ins that can really help maximize, especially when you're making meetings and also using the calendar. So some of the apps that we really recommend as an add-in for Outlook are WebEx, Zoom, and Grammarly. So WebEx and Zoom, remember here at the UDC or at UDC, we have access to WebEx and Zoom, and then also Grammarly, we also have access to this. So this can really help to refine your emails and your messages, and this works for both Word and Outlook. So first, I do want to go over how to install Word or WebEx or Zoom using the add-in feature. So this is the same for the desktop and the browser version. You'll see a little icon that looks like 4 squares with the plus sign. If you click on that, so if you follow along, look at number 1 on my screen. And then number 2, you can just go ahead and search for that particular program. So let me show you this in real time by adding Zoom. So I'll go ahead and share my inbox with you right here. If I go to my home screen, if you follow along with my mouse, it'll say browse add-ins. So you can find that by just clicking on home. And to the very right on my screen, you'll see that browse add-ins right there. Once I click on that, I can just search for Zoom. And then it says Zoom for Outlook. I'll just click on that, and then I'll add right here. So once this is added, besides Teams, you can also use Zoom and WebEx to make those meetings within your calendar. So let me go ahead and go to my calendar page, and I will make a meeting with Pat today at 2. So if I click on new meeting right here at 2 o'clock, now you'll see right here it says add a Zoom meeting. So this will connect with my UDC Zoom account. As you can see right here, it'll make the meeting link, the meeting ID, and the passcode. I can go ahead and put Pat here. And I'll just put meeting to talk about HighFlex. And as you can see, it automatically populates the location with that meeting link for Zoom, and then this join Zoom meeting link right there. Once I click on send, that's it. So right there, I just added Zoom. Let me do the same for WebEx. So I'll go back to my home page, my inbox. I'll click on this square icon with the plus sign. I'll type in WebEx. And I'll just go ahead and add that. And let me go back to my calendar page to make a meeting. And then once I click on new meeting, you'll see right here it says add WebEx meeting. So same kind of feature. Once I click on that, it'll populate with all the WebEx information, HighFlex discussion. I'll go ahead and add Pat again. And Pat, don't worry, this is not a real meeting. I'll go ahead and put this at 2. I'll send it off to him. Now he has that WebEx link. So both Zoom and WebEx integrate really nicely here. Remember, you can make a new Teams meeting as well that's already built into Outlook. It's already integrated. But for WebEx and Zoom, that's another great feature here since we do have that UDC account access. Are there any questions I can answer for this about WebEx or Zoom? But a really great feature, since I use both of these, especially when communicating with external partners, having these two buttons right here to add a WebEx meeting or a Zoom meeting is extremely helpful. I don't have to go back into my individual account or my WebEx account or Zoom account to do this. Now, next thing I do want to show is using Grammarly. Now, Grammarly is a great tool that we have here on campus that you can add to Outlook and also to Word. So I will put the link in the chat box right here. You do have to download this from online. So once you click on that link, let me walk you through on how to add this to Outlook. So right here, I went to the website and I click on Get the Add-in, it's free. You'll see in the lower left corner, it has downloaded. I'll click on that. And then I'll get started. So I can add it for Word and Outlook here. Once that has installed, I'll click OK. And then if I have Outlook open, I'll just close it and then reopen it again. You may be prompted to log in, so just log in using your UDC account. And then you'll see in the upper right corner now, it says reply with Grammarly or turn on Grammarly. Once you have that right there in the upper right corner, it has been installed. So if I am typing out an email to someone, it will automatically check that my grammar and my word usage is correct. So Grammarly is another great tool that we really offer here on campus that we encourage you to use, and that's completely free with your UDC account. And again, you can find that link in the chat box right there. So grammarly.com/office add-in. I do recommend looking at some of the other add-ins that are available to you. For example, I know that my boss, Fatma, she loves to use this Jiffy add-in. So right here, if I go back to my home screen, and I'll just go ahead and exit out of here. So File and Home. If I click on that add-in icon again, I'll just type in Jiffy, G-I-P-H-Y, and I've already added this. You can also add it right here. And let me go ahead and reshare that. So if you see on my screen now, once I click on that add-in icon, I can search for Jiffy, add it to my Outlook. If I want to compose an email to Pat, let's talk later about VR. And now on the very right side, you'll see these three dots here. My add-in for Jiffy is right here. If I click on that, I can search for maybe something dealing with VR. This is a cool one. And that'll automatically just insert that meme or that GIF into the email, and then Pat can receive that. So it's a really nice way just to have some fun with your colleagues or just use a visual to illustrate something right here. So cool one. I know Fatma loves to use that one when she sends us some emails. So I'll go ahead and go to the next option right here, which is a really cool one. It's adding your calendar availability in line in that message when you are communicating with someone else. So for example, I know a lot of us, we do a lot of back and forth. When are you available? I'm available on this day. I'm not available on that day. So let's say I just wanted to share my entire calendar for the next 7 days with someone else, and they can see that in an email message. So let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to compose a new email from my Outlook. And right here, you'll see at the very top left, it says Insert. So that's the tab that you want to use right here. And then you'll see an option that says Calendar. Now, if you don't see it right here on your toolbar on the left, click on the three dots or the ellipsis on the right. And then you'll see that calendar icon right there. And then you can go ahead and just drag and drop it to the left or add it to that quick access toolbar. So now that I have my calendar here, let's see what happens. If I click on Calendar, and let me just reshare my screen so you can see this. If I click on Insert, Calendar, you'll see this pop up right here. So calendar, let's do a date range for the next 7 days. And I just want to show time within my working hours only. So I'll click on that, and then I'll press OK. Now what happens is you'll see if I scroll down, it will show Pat all my availability for a meeting. So let's say Pat sees that I'm available on Thursday from 10:30 to 11. He can schedule a meeting for me with me during that time. So it's a really nice way to send that calendar availability without doing a lot of that back and forth here. Any questions so far from the group? Cool. Now, another thing you can do is simply drag and drop a message thread to make a new calendar event really easily. So if you get an email with details about an important event, or you've had a conversation back and forth, this is a really great way to include those conversations in that meeting event email so that you can reference those later on. So all you have to do is simply drag and drop that email to your calendar. Let me show you how to do that. So here's an example. I have this email thread with Pat about our VR equipment. So if I want to make this a meeting, I can just simply drag this to that calendar icon on the left, if everyone can see. So I'm just dragging and dropping it there. And then I can change the date to tomorrow. And I'll say 1:30 to 2. Let's make this a WebEx meeting. So I'll just add that as a WebEx meeting link. And I'll just change this to VR discussion. So Pat is getting a lot of meeting invites from me. It's not real, but right here you can see that this whole thread between Pat and I is right here in the email, and I can save and close it. And now he'll get that meeting invite. So all I had to do is simply drag that and drop it on top of this calendar icon on the left. It's also at the bottom left if you have that as well, and that will make that meeting or the email thread into a meeting invite, which is really cool. Now, last but not least, I do want to talk about changing your colors and changing this to dark mode. So this is a really great feature of Outlook that you can really change the way that it looks for you. So if I go to my Outlook, and I'm using the desktop version right here, if I go to File, you'll see at the bottom left corner, it says Office Account. If I click on Office Account, you'll see I can change my background. So the background is this upper right corner. It's on circuit, that's a default one. I can put lunchbox, makes me hungry. I can do doodle circles, so I'll just leave it at circuit. I like that one. And then you can also change the office theme. So if I want to keep this black or dark, I can go ahead and do that. Once I go back to my inbox, you can see it's that dark mode. And also my calendar is in that dark mode as well. If I want to go back and change this, I just simply go back to File, Office Account in the lower left corner. And let's change that to white, so that's that bright one. I can also change it to a dark gray, keep it colorful, just like this. So you can see my background, everything is white now with those different colors. So that's a way that you can easily change your inbox and also calendar look to a dark mode or dark gray, whichever one that you prefer right there. So with that, we do want to thank you for joining our session today. We will stick around for any questions, but I did want to highlight some of our CAL summer programs. I'll go ahead and get started, and then I'll hand it off to Pat. So I am the ThingLink tutor. ThingLink is a great program to make some immersive experiences and clickable visual images. So let's say that I want to share an image of a Washington, D.C. monument. I can have that as a 360-degree photo. I could add those hotspots there. I can even view it in VR. So if you do want to develop that dynamic content for you and your students, just send me an email. My name is David Cerna. I'm the ThingLink tutor. That's david.cerna@udc.edu. And let me hand it off to Pat.
Hi, I'm Pat, and I'm the Blackboard administrator. But as you can see here, I am Mr. Blackboard. So I am here to answer questions that you may have, offer some tips and tricks, things of that nature. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and we can set up a one-on-one session, or feel free to just email me your questions if you like, and I'll be more than happy to assist you. And I'll hand over to Julian.
I'll hop right in there. I'm Julian. I spoke earlier. I'm the gradebook whiz. So if anybody has any questions pertaining to setting up their gradebook, making sure that your gradebook mirrors your syllabi, and maybe any of the new features of the gradebook, and just wanting to make sure that all your assessments and grades are aligned, I'm the guy to speak to. Please let me know if you have any issues in that regard. I know as school approaches soon in August, the calls for setting that up will be a lot more, just a lot more. So feel free to reach out to me at any time at all, and I got you back.
And then Dominique, are you there? So Dominique can introduce herself.
Yeah. So lastly, but not leastly, I'm Dominique, and I am here to help with any course makeovers, anything that you'd like to create a more engaging or visually appealing Blackboard course. Please send me an email and or reach out. I would love to help kind of create a more engaging course for you and the students. So I look forward to working with everyone and helping in any way.
Yeah, thank you, team. So all four of us are really here to help you with your courses and really help with that design, especially as we get started with this fall semester. I know during the summer, it's a nice time to take a break, but as you do ramp up and start building your course, work with us. We'd love to make your course content more dynamic and really improve those student learning outcomes for everyone. So as we end, I do want to put in the chat box some resources that we offer here on the CAL team. The first one, if you do have any questions or you can't remember our emails, no worries. You can send us a general email at our CAL help desk at udc.edu account, and then one of us will go ahead and answer that. Our next one, we have CAL office hours and PD. That's at calendly.com/CalUDC. Our next offering will be in July, on July 14th. That will be for Adobe Express. Please look out during the first week of July for our monthly CAL e-newsletter that will list out all of our PD options for the month of July. This will also be added shortly to our YouTube channel. That's at bit.ly/YouTubeCal. And our CAL PD survey. Please let us know what we did well today. And if there's anything else that you would like us to offer in the future, or if you want to work with us directly to lead your own webinar, we would be more than happy to help facilitate that with you. So any questions from the group here today? Anything that you learned? And Pat, Dominique, or Julian, if you want to share any final thoughts before we conclude then about using Outlook, staying organized.
Oh, I thought this was a great webinar, David. I learned a lot, and I hope the participants did too.
Thank you, Pat.
Yep.
Julian?
I'll go ahead and just kind of piggyback on that great webinar. If anybody has any questions, any concerns about any of the content we cover, just let us know. We can help you set up your email. That way, it just runs more efficiently. It isn't such a burden or stressful to you to navigate through, though.
Excellent. Thank you, Julian.
I'll definitely be using the new feature that Pat showed us about the additional configuration of the folders, because I did not know that you could stack the folders like that. So that's really cool.
Yeah,
awesome. Great.
There are so many cool tips and tricks with using Outlook. So if you do have any that you use yourself, please share with us. You can send us an email. We'd love to highlight in a future newsletter about the way that you use Outlook to really stay organized. I think Pat, Julian, and Dominique, they really taught me this week too. Work smarter, not harder. So I will be using the tips that I learned today, especially about the folders, conditional formatting, using the web versions as well with Outlook. So with that, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have a great 4th of July weekend. We have a 3-day weekend coming up, and we hope to see you again for another PD session. Have a great day. Bye-bye.